صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العظيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين صلوات. Those angels need hearing aids. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we have in essence 3 days left. On Thursday, we will have Khatm Quran, and on Friday, inshallah, the presentation. I am told that they would like your children to come as early as possible on Friday, because Friday evening they have a Khatm Quran in the evening, so they start at 6:15. So it's going to be pretty tight. We'll have to leave here by 5:45. But khair, whatever you can manage. Normally, what happens in the last week is I just go over an overview of the month of Ramadan. Tomorrow I will do an overview of Suratul Qamar and maybe a little bit on the Quran as well. And then on Wednesday we will talk about Jumatul Wida, Dua al-Wida, etc. So that's basically the plan for these 3 days. Today I'd like to go back to the sermon of the Prophet. And we did that on the first day. We're going to look at the sermon of the Prophet and then maybe see how we progress during the month. We've still got a few days left. You also know that the night of Qadr is important, but so is the day. So the day of Qadr is just as important as the night. There's a hadith by Imam Sadiq in Biharul Anwar. So we've still got a few hours in which you can get the barakah of the night of Qadr in these days. Normally what people do is, as soon as the night is finished, big sigh of relief, sleep through the day, and then say, done, I'm finished. Now I'm going to go to Eid presents. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about me. Okay. So we think about Eid presents, we forget about mosque, we forget about Quran, we've done it all, but we haven't. These are important days, okay? We've still got the odd nights of the 25th, the 27th, and the 29th. But I'd like to go over the sermon to see whether we managed any of this. If we didn't, then we've still got a few days to do that. So he started off by saying, Ayyuhan nas, إنه قد أقبل إليكم شهر الله بالبركة والرحمة والمغفرة. So 3 things this month brings. Barakah, and I mentioned this before, I will repeat it because repetition is good. Barakah is more than expected. Barakah is when something dead is planted and then suddenly it comes to life. So that which is dead enlivens itself. That which is more than expected, more than we deserve. Then rahmah and then maghfirah. There are narrations which state that you can divide the month into 3. The first third into barakah, the second third into rahmah, and the third bit into forgiveness or maghfirah. And that is basically what we've been doing all these nights, on the nights of Qadr, and we've still got some nights left. Shahrun wa indallahi afdalus shuhur. This month with Allah is the best of months. Now we've got a few days left. Really need to make the most of it if we haven't. وَأَيَّامُهُ أَفْضَلُ الْأَيَّامِ وَلَيَالِهِ أَفْضَلُ اللَّيَالِ وَسَاعَاتُهُ أَفْضَلُ السَّاعَاتِ. For the Prophet to emphasize that the days are the best of days and the nights are the best of nights and the hours are the best of hours, there is something there that we're missing out. So I would count the number of days we have from today till whenever you are celebrating Eid, whether it is Monday or Tuesday. So I would say you've got the end of today, then you've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, it's not much, 5 or 6 days. That's about it to do all the things that are here. It's a month that calls you to be the guests of Allah. If I were going to somebody's house, and this is what my mother taught me, you never go empty-handed. I don't know whether you are taught this, but I've always been taught that if I went as a guest to somebody's house, my mother would say, fulne to fulni pankri, which means if you can't take a flower, take a petal, but you can't go empty-handed. So if I am his guest, what do I offer to him? And if you were to ask divinity, what do you want from human beings? It is servitude to another human being. Have you sponsored an orphan? Have you given somebody iftar? Have you looked after someone? We'll go through all the things that come in here. وَجُئِلْتُمْ فِيهِ مِنْ أَهْلِ كَرَامَةِ اللَّهِ. And he makes you those who are really honored in his eyes. أَنْفَاسُكُمْ فِيهِ تَسْبِيهِ. Every breath of yours is a tasbih. وَنَوْمُكُمْ فِيهِ ibadah. Even sleeping is ibadah. But only that sleeping which allows you to gain the energy to be able to do more work during the day. Okay. وَعَمَلُكُمْ فِيهِ مَقْبُولٌ. Anything you do is accepted. وَدُعَاءُكُمْ فِيهِ مُسْتَجَابٌ. Now, that's really important. Your du'as are answered. We've talked about dua at great lengths, and I've kind of put bits into what I've said. I'm just going to repeat. Often, we either ask for something, or we ask for a problem to be resolved, or if we have no problems and we don't need anything, we ask for safety for our children and our community and our family for the rest of the year, rest of the month, etc. There's no other dua that we do. These are three. But we've got to separate in our heads dua and talab. Dua is to call out. Talab is to ask. When I call someone on my phone, and we've all got phones and we call people, it is not always to ask. In fact, 90% of the time, you're not calling someone because you want to ask them something. It's literally either to hear their voice or to just communicate with them. Dua, in essence, is communication. And every time I say, Ya Allah, or Ya Rabbi, or however I call him, there is a definite answer of labbaik, or I hear you, or whatever the case might be. They're two different things altogether. All right. Okay. Fas'alullah. So he's saying, when you talk to him, what should you ask him? Ask your Rabb biniyatin sadika wa kulubin tahira. Ask him with a very, very clean intention and pure hearts. An yuwaffiqakum lisiyamihi. That you are able to fast. Now I would question, have I fasted for the last 22 days, and today's the 23rd? Have I fasted for the last 23 days? In my fast, however long is it, have I just stayed hungry and thirsty? Have I just maintained what fiqh tells me, no food, no drink, whatever the case might be, no inhalation of smoke, etc., etc.? Or have I really, because he says to reach your fast, lisiyamihi. Have I lied? Have I cheated? Have I gossiped? Have I hurt someone? Have I shouted at my kids? Sorry. That's what we do. What have I done? And all these, I have not reached my fast. So even out of all the 30, if I can manage one in the next few days, it'll be good. وَتِلَاوَةِ كِتَابِهِ. Did I read his book? I was talking to somebody today about the Quran. And we were discussing about what our intention was to get our children to read Quran. I'm not going to talk about you, I'm going to talk about your children. So I'm presuming that all of you would like your children to at least know how to recite Quran. And one of the greatest pride of any parent is for their child to come up to the microphone and recite a surah. It's phenomenal. And that should be there, always. But then what after that? What do you want your children to do? Maybe you want your children to understand this book so they remain righteous. So they remain on a path where they reach their full potential everywhere. I'm hoping that's that's the way you're thinking. So then if that's the way you're thinking, what does your Quran look like? Do you journal it? Tilawati kitabihi. Do you understand it? Do you, for example, think that I'm going to go through all the ayat that say, Ya ayyuhan nas? I'm going to highlight them, and then I'm going to think, do I actually believe it? Do I do what it says there? Do I have a tick box? Do I have an Excel spreadsheet where I've written them down? And then after you've gone through Ya ayyuhan nas, did you go through the ayat that say, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, O you who believe? Well, there's one we definitely do. Kutiba alaykumus siyam kama kutiba alal ladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Siyam or Saum, I won't even call it just normal fasting. Saum or Siyam was written for you, like was written for those before you, so that you would become God conscious. Maybe we put a tick box there. What about all the other ayah about Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu? What does your Quran look like? Does it look journaled? Did it look like it's got little notes at the side? All that sort of thing. So tilawati kitabi is actually, tala is to follow. Washamsi wa duhaha. Wal kamari idha talaha. The moon follows the sun. So then, do I follow this? Or is it just lip service? Or do I just, in the koja way, pare. فَإِنَّ شَقِيَ مَنْ هُرِمَ غُفْرَانَ اللَّهِ. The most unfortunate person in this month is the one who hasn't been granted the forgiveness of Allah. So I got to think. And we've talked about forgiveness as well. Definitely yesterday, when you read Dua Tawbah, definitely yesterday, you're forgiven. But then what about human beings? Have I been able to go to each one and say sorry? If not, have I done Radde Mazalim for them? And have I gone through a thought process last night as to where I need to correct myself? So في هذا الشهر العظيم, in this great month, واذكروا بجوعكم وعطشكم فيه جوع يوم القيامة وعطشه. Think about your hunger and thirst in this month, about the hunger and thirst on the day of Qiyamah. So on the day of Qiyamah, what will happen? On the day of Qiyamah, there will be children, there will be parents who will ask, you threw away food and I didn't have any. You had extra and you didn't give it to me. You didn't even think about it. In fact, you thought that the news was so depressing, you switched the television off. You looked at the newspaper and it was all about the war in Russia and Ukraine, and you thought, I don't want to know. You switched it off. But did you think that there was somebody who was thirsty, who was hungry, who was going through a little bit of trouble? So day of Qiyamah is when I will be answerable for all the wastage I did. So maybe the next few days, let's try and think what we can do for somebody else. وَتَصَدَّقُوا عَلَىٰ فُقَرَائِكُمْ. Give sadaqah. Give whatever you can to those who need. وَمَسَاكِينِكُمْ. There's a difference between faqir and miskin. One is such that they don't even have the strength to ask anymore. One is there who may ask you. When you see people who ask, do you give? If they don't ask, can you recognize them as in they will need? وَوَقِّرُوا كِبَارِكُمْ. Honor your old. How many people do we have in our families that are old, that maybe we can reach out to? وَارْحَمُوا صِغَارَكُمْ. Have lots, utter compassion on those who are young. وَصِلُوا أَرْحَامَكُمْ. Your family members, those who are connected to you by womb, by blood, have you reached out to them? وَاحْفَظُوا أَلْسِنَتَكُمْ. Mind your tongue. وَغُضُّوا عَمَّا لَا يَحِلُّ النَّظَرُ إِلَى الْأَبْصَارِكُمْ. Close your eyes to what you're not supposed to see. وَأَمَّا لَا يَحِلُّ الْإِسْتِمَاعُ إِلَيْهِ أَسْمَاءَكُمْ. Don't listen to what you're not supposed to listen to. That's so much. وَتَحَنَّنُوا عَلَىٰ أَيْتَامِ النَّاسِ. I love this sentence. Show. Hanana is a pillar in the mosque of Medina. And the Prophet used to stand against the trunk of a palm tree and he used to give his talks. When he used to give these talks, there was a carpenter in the audience who built him a box to sit on. So he sat on the box. And the first day he sat on the box, the tree made a noise. Hanana is a noise a baby camel makes when it's separated from its mama. And the Prophet went up to the tree and said, what's the matter? And the tree said, you've abandoned me. He said, I haven't abandoned you. You'll be with me all my life. When the tree died, they put a pillar and they called it Sutun Hannana. So he says, وَتَحَنَّنُوا عَلَىٰ أَيْتَامِ النَّاسِ. Treat the orphans of people like you would treat your own children. Look up the figures. UNICEF, for example. I think there's about 196 million orphans in the world. And don't send pictures with orphans. And don't say, I've given money to orphans. That hurts. That really hurts. Just send it. Make sure they get the money. There are lots of organizations that deal with orphans. I know Zahra Trust is one of them. But there are lots of organizations. The WF does it as well. I mean, find out. These are days when you encourage your children to be able to show compassion to those who don't, because he says that when you do that, يَتَحَنَّنُوا عَلَىٰ أَيْتَامِكُمْ. He promises that he will show compassion. He will show compassion to your children if they did not have any parents. وَتُوبُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ مِن ذُنُوبِكُمْ. List your sins and make a U-turn. I'm not going to do them again. He is Ghafurur Rahim. Don't listen to anybody who says, oh, you can't be forgiven. Oh my goodness, he forgives everything. لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله إن الله يغفر الذنوب جميعا. Don't despair in the mercy of Allah. He forgives everything. Absolutely everything. وارفعوا إليه أيديكم بالدعاء في أوقات صلواتكم. At the time of Salah, raise your hands. Now, I normally tell children, because these are who I speak to normally, that even if you're at school, even if you're at work, wherever you are, exactly at the time of Salah, and I mean all 5 salawat, Fajr, Zohar, Asr, Maghrib and Isha. I'll talk about it in a minute. Raise your hands, especially in the month of Ramadan. Now, at workshop on a Saturday, hopefully we shall be face-to-face soon, but even on Zoom, when we were doing these 2 years of assemblies, I would ask them, what's the time for Salah? And they would have their little hands up. You know, on Zoom, you can put that little hand up. Fajr, they would know. Zohar, they would know because they had the calendar in front of them. Asr, they would go, Maghrib, they would know. Isha, they would go, And I'm looking at your faces and I'm thinking, yep, that's the same look I get from the kids. Why? Just because you think that you stop being a Shia if you pray 5 salawat? Really? If you pray 5 salawat, you stop being a Shia? You are supposed to pray 5. It was for your convenience and my convenience that Zohar and Asr were put together and Maghrib and Isha were put together. But if you can, pray 5 salawat. If not, pray Zohar and Asr together. Pray Maghrib and Isha together. But at least find out the time so you can raise your hands in dua. And write them down on your fridge. I don't know, wherever you have a notice board so that the children know, at this time, I'm going to raise my hands in dua. Because those du'as are heard even more. He says this, especially in the month of Ramadan. He says, فَإِنَّهَا أَفْضَلُ السَّاعَاتِ. They're the best of hours. يَنْظُرُ اللَّهُ فِيهَا بِرَحْمَةِ لَا إِبَادِهِ. At that time, Allah looks at his abd with rahmah. Now for me and you, it'll become a practice that throughout the year we will know the times for Isha and Asr. I mean, Ramadan, if you ask somebody the time for Fajr, they know it to the second. Or maybe not Fajr, but Maghrib. I mean, ask anybody here Maghrib. And they'll tell you exactly what time Maghrib is. It's amazing. Ramadan does some amazing stuff to us. Okay. وَيُجِيبُهُمْ إِذَا نَاجُوهُ. When you do that, najwa is a secret. He will answer your secrets. وَيُلَبِّيهِمْ إِذَا نَادَوْهُ. He will see to your communication. وَيُعْطِيهُمْ إِذَا سَأَلُوا. He will grant you what you asked for. Surah number 14, ayah 34. Write it down. We give you everything you ask for. More in Ramadan. وَيَسْتَجِيبُ لَهُمْ إِذَا دَعَوْهُ. He will answer you when you call him. أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ, O people, إِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ مَرْحُونَ بِأَعْمَالِكُمْ. Your souls are dependent on your deeds. فَفَكُّوهَا بِإِسْتِغْفَارِكُمْ. Free your souls with istighfar. Surah number 8, ayah 33. Please look it up. Where, I mentioned this before, where Allah says, I will not punish them if you are amongst them, O Muhammad. And I will not punish them if they do istighfar. Not rocket science to do istighfar all the time. وَظُهُورَكُمْ ثَقِيلَةٌ مِّنْ أَوْزَارِكُمْ. Your backs are weighed down with weight. فَخَفِّفُوا عَنْهَا بِطُولِ سُجُودِكُمْ. If you want to get your worries, your responsibilities lessened, do long sajdas. That's what he says. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ أَقْسَمَ بِإِزَّتِهِ. Know that Allah swears by his honor. أَنْ لَا يُعَذِّبَ الْمُسَلِّينَ. He will never punish those who pray. وَالسَّاجِدِينَ. And those who sijda. وَأَنْ لَا يُرَوَعْهُمْ بِالنَّارِ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ النَّاسِ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. And he'll give you a certificate of freedom from the fire. Question. Do I know what I'm praying? Do I know my salah? When I pray my salah, do I understand it or do I just read it? If it's a communication with Allah, what am I saying? I say this to children all the time. I will repeat again. I tell them that, say for example, they had friends who came home and it was salah time and they said, I have to go pray. So they went to pray and their friends were non-Muslims and they said, oh my goodness, you're so pious. It's really good. You're connecting to God. Yep. I watched you. Yep. Why were you standing? And why were you bowing down? And why were you prostrating? Don't know. What were you saying? Don't know. You know, even if I wanted to be interested in Islam, I wouldn't want to know. You mean people who speak to their God and don't even understand what they're saying? That shouldn't stop me from praying, by the way. So don't say, Umi Auntie said, don't pray. I didn't say that. I said, pray, but find out what you're saying. Because it is not logical sense. This is a God you and I love. This is a God you and I want your children. You want them to love God. You want them to reach their full potential. How are they going to do it if you just make them recite like parrots? I was trying to use the Gujarati word. Okay? They say popat. So I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but you know yourself. Do you understand? When you raise your hands in kunut, do you know what you're saying? Do you know the essence of Surah Al-Fatiha? When you go into ruku, do you know what you're saying? When you go into sajda, do you know what you're saying? Why do you say such things? Where in the Quran where in the Quran does it say that you say Subhana Rabbi al-Azimi wa bihamdi? Which surah has Subhana Rabbi al-A'la wa bihamdi? When did the Prophet say, put this in your sujood, put this in your ruku? What is the wajibat, basically, of salah? That's where you got to start. So when he says that you get a certificate of freedom from the fire, it's when I understand this communication that I have with my God. Ayyuhan nas, O people. And I'm not telling you, I'm telling myself first. Okay? O people. Man fattara minkum sa'iman mu'minan fi hadha ash-sha'r. If you broke the fast, that means if you provided food or dates or something to someone in this month to break their fast, kana lahu bidhalika indallahi itqun nasama. It's like you freed someone. Wa maghfiratun lima madha min dhunubihi. All your past sins are forgiven. And you say, really? Only with one iftar? Yes. He says this. So if I were to go to my grave and he says, you have all these sins, I would say, but you said that you'd forgive me if I gave one iftar. So on the 23rd of Ramadan, 2022, I gave iftar to someone. So until then, all my sins are forgiven, except those that I did against human beings. You said yourself. So these are things to remember. So it isn't just tradition. As a child, I know, as that when I grew up, there was not a single day when we wouldn't send food to the neighbors. And I remember when fasting, I would tell my mom, but you can't send so much. Because she would send a lot of the stuff that she made because you thought you could eat a lot at iftar time. And when you saw people were sending food, you thought, oh my goodness, there'll be nothing left for me. And whenever I used to ask her as a child, and I said, Mama, why? Don't send it tomorrow after I've eaten today. And my mama would say, do you know what the Prophet said? All your sins will be forgiven. And at that time, the concept of sin did not enter because we thought we'd never committed sins. But today, when I look at it, and we don't live in places like East Africa where you could actually have somebody go and deliver the food everywhere. We don't have that at the moment. So it's quite difficult. And it's an effort to come out of your house and go and deliver something. I have my friend sitting here every day before Ramadan. She comes and gives me a box of dates. But that's a cop-out. Okay? It's about that particular day, making your food and coming out. Please don't come today. So it's about making that food and actually going and giving it to someone every single day. Every single day. Can you do that? That's what it's about. You've got 5 more days left. Fakila. So now some people, smart people said, Ya Rasulullah, or Messenger of God, فَلَيْسَ كُلُّنَا نَقْدِرُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ. Oh, we can't manage this. We can barely feed ourselves. We can't say this, by the way. We have so much excess. It's unbelievable. But they said, we can barely manage to feed our families. We can't do it. He said, اتَّقُوا النَّارِ. Be God conscious of the fire. In other words, what are you saying? وَلَوْ بِشَرْبَةٍ مِّن مَّاءٍ. You can't even give a sip of water to someone? So literally in your neighborhood, if you can't go anywhere else, just go and give somebody some water, a bottle of water. It doesn't matter. Have you ever asked these people here who pack all this tabarruk, can we help? Can we distribute it? Can we pay for it? Because you're giving food to children. It's phenomenal. I'm just giving you examples of how you can make this work. Okay, ayyuhan nas, oh people. Man hasuna fi hadha shahri khalquhu. Whoever has good manners in this month, kana lahu jawazan ala sirat. It's like you get a helicopter ride across the sirat. You know what the sirat is? The sirat is, this is mahshar. So you can imagine this massive stadium. All human beings are there. And then there is a pit of fire. And then there's Jannah on the other side. And then there's a bridge. It's a metaphorical example of what we have. So you finished your accounting, and now you're told there's Jannah, but you got to cross this sirat. And it's metaphorical. It tells you it's as thin as hair, and it's you got to be a real tightrope person to be able to get across that. Okay, but here it says, just good akhlaq. Just good manners, smiling at people, doing something for people in this month, you get a helicopter ride. You don't have to touch that sirat, okay? I think it's amazing. Because it says, يَوْمَ تَزِلُّ فِيهِ الْأَقْدَامُ. On the day feet will slip. وَمَنْ خَفَّفَ فِي هَذَا الشَّهْرِ أَمَّا مَلَكَتْ يَمِينُهُ. If you reduce the weight of somebody's work, could be anybody. You helped somebody tidy up. I don't know, whatever you did. You helped here, you cleaned the place up. what they do over here when they pack stuff, they help all the rest of it. He says, خَفَّفَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ حِسَابَهُ. He will make sure that your accounting is easy. وَمَنْ كَفَّ فِيهِ شَرَّهُ. And he will cover your sins for you. I mean, if somebody told me just helping to pack, just helping to clean would help rub my sins off and cover my evil, I'd run to it. But we don't take these things seriously. We just don't. I'll tell you what we did one day at workshop. We have workshop here on a Saturday before COVID. So one day, you know the back stairs that come up to the nursery? Have you seen them? Yeah. So the back stairs that come up to the nursery, we took a packet of crisps and we spilt it all down the stairs. Okay? That's what we did. And then we just waited and watched. Fiza is smiling over there. All the moms who came to pick up their kids, all of them, rather than pick up the crisps, they actually ground them into the carpet. That's not what they do at their houses. I'll give you another example. And she's allowed me to use this example. So I was 8.5 months pregnant, 21 years ago. And upstairs, Ramadan program. I can't see her today, but anyway, Ramadan program. One of the kids had vomited. You know, children vomit when the time is near, whatever. So 8.5 months, I'm trying to clean up this vomit. This wonderful young lady comes in and she goes, "Ew, auntie," like that. I said, okay, that's fine. 2 minutes later, she comes back and she said, "That's my son." That's what he did. She didn't know what to say. That day she went away. But 3 or 4 years later, she came back and she said, "It's been bothering me for 3 to 4 years. I really feel bad about what I did. It just doesn't sit with me." Now, I told her I'd use this as an example. And she said, "It doesn't sit with me. I don't know how to make it right." I said, "It didn't bother me because we do it all the time. It doesn't bother us at all. But maybe, just maybe, you could help some children out." So Royal Orthopedic Hospital had some kids that needed help. Maybe you could help looking after them, picking up their puke, looking after their bits. And that may make you feel better. It was for her to feel better, right? And so you just got to think, when you walk out of the car park just now and you see a packet of crisp or whatever it is, do you pick it up and put it in the dustbin, or do you only do it at home? When you look at the carpet here, it's a cream carpet. It's not a very good carpet. But if you saw a thread at home, I can guarantee you'd pick it up and put it in the bin. Would you do that here? Because you're reducing somebody else's work. If you went to the bathrooms here, would you say, "Ew," or would you just clean as you would at home? I'm just telling you what it says over here. That's what we need to do. And nobody needs to see you and me doing it. We just need to do it. He sees up there. And then he says, كَفَّ اللَّهُ أَنَّ غَضَبَهُ يَوْمَ يَلْقَاهُ. He will also cover his anger. وَمَنْ أَكْرَمَ فِيهِ يَتِيمًا. Again, if you honor an orphan, أَكْرَمَهُ اللَّهُ يَوْمَ يَلْقَاهُ. Allah will honor you on the day when you meet him. وَمَنْ وَصَلَ فِيهِ رَحِمًا. If you put together, or if you reach out to your relations, وَصَهُ اللَّهُ بِرَحْمَتِهِ يَوْمَ يَلْقَاهُ. He will reach out to you with his rahmah. وَمَنْ قَطَعَ رَحِمَهُ. If you cut relationships, then he will cut his rahmah from you. وَمَنْ تَطَوَّى فِيهِ بِصَلَاةٍ. If you manage to recite salah, كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَهُ بَرَاءَةً مِنَ النَّارِ. He will write for you a certificate of freedom from the fire. وَمَنْ عَدَّ فِيهِ فَرِيضَةً. If you're managing to do your wajibat, كَانَ لَهُ ثَوَابَ مَنْ عَدَّ 70 فَرِيضَةً فِيمَا سَوَاهُ مِنَ الشُّهُورِ. It is like you get 70 more sawabs in the month of Ramadan. وَمَنْ أَكْثَرَ فِيهِ مِنَ الصَّلَاةِ. If you read a lot of salah, ثَقَلَ اللَّهُ مِيزَانَهُ يَوْمَ تَقِفُّ الْمَوَازِينَ. He will make sure that your mizan is balanced right, your weight of deeds. And I love this one. وَمَنْ تَلَا فِيهِ آيَةٌ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. If you read one ayah of Quran, read, internalize, understand, apply, and teach, كَانَ لَهُ مِثْلَ أَجْرٍ مَنْ كَتَمَ الْقُرْآنِ فِي غَيْرِهِ الشُّهُورِ. It is like finishing a whole Quran in other months. You can actually say, "I finished the Quran," by understanding one ayah, by applying it to your life. One. That's what he says, not me. So can you imagine if you did 30, you'd say, "I finished 30 Qur'ans." And it's valid to say that because that's what he says. وَمَنْ تَلَا فِيهِ آيَةٌ مِّنَ الْقُرْآنِ. I'm really hoping that I've encouraged you to pick up your Qur'ans throughout the year and be able to annotate them, to be able to understand them. I mean, there's a plethora of stuff available on YouTube these days. You don't have to go anywhere. You just need to sit there with your phone, or you just need to sit there when you've got 2 minutes. There is so much information available. We'd all become scholars. That's how much information there is. Pick any ayah. Just type in the ayah number and put Quran, and so many tafasir will come up. Obviously, you will know which ones are those that have been learned from the Ma'sumin, because you will look at those. They're far more reliable than any of the others. Okay? أيها الناس, O people, إن أبواب الجنان في هذا الشهر مفتحة. The doors of Jannah are open. فاسألوا ربكم ألا يغلقها عليكم. In every kunut, Ya Allah, don't close the doors of Jannah for me. They're open in Ramadan, leave them open all year. وَأَبْوَابَ النِّيرَانِ مُغْلَقَةً, the doors of Jahannam are closed. فَاسْأَلُوا رَبَّكُمْ أَلَّا يُغْلَقَهَا عَلَيْهِمْ. Tell your Rabb, don't ever open them for me. I'm sorry, يَفْتَحَهَا عَلَيْكُمْ. Don't ever open them for me. So it's really important to do these du'as. It's not just a token sermon. I'm hoping in the next 5 days, for every or 6 days, whatever you've got left, you will raise your hands and you will say, don't close the doors of Jannah and don't open the doors of Jahannam. He understands every language, so it doesn't have to be in Arabic. وَأَبْوَابُ النِّيرَانِ مُغْلَقَةً, the doors of the fire are closed. فَاسْأَلُوا رَبَّكُمْ لَا يَفْتَحْ عَلَيْكُمْ وَالشَّيَاطِينِ مَغْلُولَةً. Now this is the nice one. Shaitan is imprisoned. فَاسْأَلُوا رَبَّكُمْ أَلَّا يُسَلِّطَ عَلَيْكُمْ. Ask your Rabb not to free him. That means anything I do now in this month that is a bit dodgy, I can't blame it on Shaitan. It's got to be my soul that is inspiring me to do that. It's become a habit. I think Paulo Coelho says that when you repeat a mistake, it becomes a habit. And then when it becomes a habit, it becomes a decision. So when you do something again and again, you now made a decision that that's okay for me to do. So he's saying here, Shaitan is closed. So anything I do is from my own soul. قال أمير المؤمنين. So Imam Ali says, فَقُمْتُ وَقُلْتُ. So you can imagine everybody's sitting and then he stands up and he says, Ya Rasulallah, ما أفضل الأعمال في هذا الشهر. So the Prophet has given a whole long sermon and he says, what's the best thing to do in this month? And he says, Ya Abul Hassan, أفضل الأعمال في هذا الشهر الورع عن محارم الله. The best thing you can do in this month is keep away from that which Allah has forbidden. And sometimes we don't think. We think some of the things we're doing are okay. Maybe we said something. I don't know. Maybe we did something that was wrong. So maybe in this month, we've got a few days to contemplate. What have I done? How will I change myself? What difference will it make for next year? I don't know what you wrote down for your aspirations, but any aspiration that you wrote has to be matched with action. If I said, I want to become fitter, I can't do that just by sitting on a couch. I will have to get up. I will have to walk. Don't go to the gym, it's okay. Climb up and down stairs. Walk with your kids to school. It's amazing. Have you seen the gym? People who go to the gym want a place right near the door. Yet they're going to exercise. I know that you've seen it. Have you seen it? You see people going all the way around the front bit. Yet they could park right at the end and walk. That'd be part of their, steps. By the way, it's not 10,000 steps, right? That was that Gimokochi Japanese thing who wanted to promote his thing. It's actually about 6,000 steps. I'm sure with your children you can do them all. So whatever I want to do Quran, I have to pick it up. I have to listen to a lesson. I've got to do something about it. I want to have a big heart. My God, I've got to kill that anger, hatred, resentment inside me. It's tough. It's not easy. But the action must match it. So that was the sermon of the Prophet. Inshallah, tomorrow we will do a whole overview on Surah Al-Qamar. So hopefully you will bring your books or your phones or whatever you have and we'll go over it. Oh God, before I end, I've got... Have I got a... Oh, okay. So we've got a solution for ending, because the presentation on Friday, we have to end early because the night program starts at 6:15. So the suggestion is that we would do the presentation on Thursday and Khatmul Quran on Friday. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we don't have to finish early and it'll be easier. So because the night program on Thursday starts at 7 p.m. So are you all right with that? So I repeat again, presentation on Thursday and Khatmul Quran on Friday. Okay, at the moment that's how it looks. Are we okay with that? You said no. But are the rest of you all right with it? Is it difficult? Are you okay? Because on Friday, they are starting their program at 6:15. If they're starting at 6:15, we have to leave here at 5:45. And that's going to be really difficult with this presentation. Are you okay with that? All right, Sayyidba is watching me. So Thursday, presentation. Friday, Khatmul Quran. Are you okay? All right, so let's end with the Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin.